All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. My name is Hallie. I'm a member of the Quad Education team. And today we are going to be talking about deferring admission for a gap year. We have two of our fantastic consultants here with us today who are going to walk us through this topic. They're experts on everything college admissions, and I'll have them introduce themselves in just a second. For those of you that don't know, Quad Education is an admissions consulting company, and we work with students and families through the entire college application process, from just beginning to think about college, late middle school, early high school, all the way through choosing schools you want to apply to, choosing what classes and extracurriculars to take in high school, compiling your resume, your application, your personal statement, all the way through sending in those applications and deciding which school you actually will be attending. And for those of you with us, we are recording this webinar and we'll be sending it out via email within the next few days. So don't worry about missing anything. You'll have access to this later. So let's see. For our agenda for today, we'll start off with having our panelists introduce themselves, and I'll have them do that in just a second. We'll talk about what the deferral process is and how to navigate requesting a deferral. We'll talk about what gap years are, what you can accomplish with a gap year, how to determine if a gap year might be right for you. And then we'll open things up for a Q&A. If you have questions, pop those in the Q&A chat box, and we'll definitely get to those at the end. All right. Arianna, you want to kick us off with an intro?
Yes, indeed. Hello, all. I'm Arianna Lee, a counselor here at Quad Education, and I graduated from Dartmouth College with a degree in Neuroscience. Now, I was also a Questie, a QuestBridge scholar. So mentoring and helping students through the college admissions process is truly one of my favorite things to do. And I don't think we cross the subject of deferring admissions too often. So I'm truly excited to hop into this topic today. So glad you all had me today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Glad to have you. And Max, you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Arianna. Hi, everyone. I'm Max Schindler. I'm a counselor with Quad Education. I graduated from Brown University with a degree in Middle East Studies. The past 5 years, I've been helping you guys and gals and folks get into every Ivy Plus school possible. I used to work as a journalist, so I come in, help shine your essays, make them grab the reader's attention. We have fun together. Well, kind of fun. Questionable. Anyhow, Arianna and I are looking forward to chatting with you today all about the gap year deferral process.
Love it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you also for being here, Max. Always a pleasure to have both of you. All right, let's talk about the deferral process and how to request a deferral. Arianna, you want to start us off?
Absolutely. So first, let's hop into the eligibility criteria for deferring admission. So one you might have to figure out is, are you deferring your admissions before applying to the college or after being accepted to the prospective university? So some criteria that you might consider is if it is illness, and it might be pertaining to you or maybe to a close family member, visa delays, unforeseen circumstances that could range from a whole host of things. Humanitarian service, maybe there's a service project or volunteering that you really want to be a part of, or academic reasons. Maybe there's things that you want to do to help bolster your application before applying, or have more experience and focus prior to acceptance.
Great. Max, anything else to add to that?
Yes, I want to build on this, and Arianna and I are going to be talking about different gap year ideas and proposals and what you can do. This is just a general schematic of some of the reasons why you might take a gap year, and yes, I think we'll delve into humanitarian service ideas later.
Max, I think you're a little bit. There's a little bit of feedback coming from your mic, I think.
Apologies, 1 second. I will put in a different pair of headphones. Thank you very much.
Sorry about that.
In the meantime, I guess we can
Sounds
continue.
good. No,
Yes.
sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go. So much better.
Yep. Okay,
All right.
so moving on, folks, and thank you for your patience. Tips to boost your chance of acceptance. Basically, moral of the story. Do not write in your application, hey, I'm going to take a gap year. First, get into the college, okay? Get accepted to the university. Confirm that you will attend, and then each school has a different protocol on how you notify them and how you request a deferral year. Usually speaking, in my anecdotal experience, almost always the college allows you to defer for a year. It's a formality, but some colleges might be more strict than others, so please do your research and do your homework as to how to apply for a deferral. Again, you must ask for permission. And usually speaking, if you get accepted by April 1st and you get back to them in the middle of April and you accept your placement, then you need to notify them, hey, I would like to take a gap year, okay? Sometimes you might have to pay a fee, sometimes you might not. In the letter, sometimes you might have to state exactly why you want to take a gap year. And again, please be proactive about this.
Absolutely. And I would also say too, really brainstorm on why you are taking the gap year before you start that letter or email to your future college. Really think, what is the purpose that I'm getting out of this gap year, and how am I going to best utilize this time? And it doesn't have to be an entire year. It can be a quarter. It can be a semester. Make the best use out of the time that you're taking.
All right, let's talk about understanding gap years. What is a gap year?
Absolutely. So like we've already been mentioning, a gap year is typically taken after high school graduation or before entering college. And again, I agree with Max as well. After you're accepted, that would make it a lot easier on yourself. And then also gap year is where individuals take time off from formal education to engage in various experiences that can range from a whole host of things, typically with the benefit to contribute to personal growth and development. This can range from volunteering in another country. It can range from taking an internship or taking community college classes and helping to become more focused on your education. And gap years, like we said before, can range from a few months to a full academic year or more. But again, really brainstorm and think, how much time do you actually need? What is the purpose of this gap year, and what am I going to accomplish?
And to build on Arianna's point, again, I can only speak, many of my clients through Quad have been first-generation Americans, many of you. And it's possible that your parents may not fully get what a gap year is and may not understand and may want you to immediately go matriculate at university, at college. And I really, being on this call today, I really want you to consider a gap year. There's so much you can benefit from maturity-wise, academically, having another year under your belt, so that college isn't simply extended adolescence and then maybe junior year, senior year, you mature and wise up and you know what you want to do. And this could give you another year to ask yourself, what do I want to study? What do I want to get out of college? So please, folks, I ask you, consider taking a gap year. Common misconceptions, because I'm advocating that everyone should take a gap year, in my opinion. Gap years are only for those unsure about their academic path. That may not be the case. You may know that you might want to do microbiology, and there's an amazing lab that you've been working in, and you want to continue to fine-tune what you're doing. Another misconception, taking a gap year will delay academic and career progress. If anything, if you are going to college and you're not ready emotionally or maturity-wise, that could delay your academic and career progress. So I really want you to consider taking a gap year. And the third point, it's primarily for travel and leisure. I don't know about you, but as a counselor, I've advised many kids who've used a gap year to start up a business, to start up a nonprofit, to do humanitarian work outside the country, to go on a religious retreat, whether they be studying in an ashram for a year, whether they be studying in a yeshiva for a year. So please, it's not simply you backpacking and hanging out, although you should do that. Everyone should do that in their life, I think, backpack through Europe, but that's not the conversation we're having today. A gap year could be really formative in terms of your academics, career, and who you want to be professionally in the world.
Yes, and just to add to that as well, another common misconception, further on the point of gap years are only for those unsure about their academic path. Gap years are also, college is a huge undertaking. You're moving far away from your family. You're making a lot of lifestyle changes. This is a great opportunity and time to just adjust your entire way of thinking. And like Max already said, taking yourself out of that further adolescent mindset and having a clearer focus of what is going to come.
Exactly.
Okay. What are some benefits?
Awesome. So as we already have been talking about, experience the world outside of academics is just so important. It helps to increase your maturity, your self-awareness. Studying in another country, taking on an entrepreneurial startup or endeavor, going into a real job, your first real job, perhaps, if you haven't had one at this point in time. That is a huge way to just shift your mindset and increase your maturity and be prepared for what college is to be. Also, contrary to the misconception, many individuals return to the academic setting with, like we said, increased focus and motivation. I couldn't imagine a better way. In fact, I did not take a gap year, but I could only imagine how much sharper I would have been had I done so. Or just more clear of who I am as an individual and what I'm actually going to college for. Remember, college is not purely for partying, it is for studying. So this is a greater way to have that focus. Gap year can also provide that clarity and direction in terms of career goals. And that's why I say brainstorm before your gap year or why you're doing it. Exposure to different cultures fosters a global mindset and understanding. Just as you were already talking about, Max, having just all those different experiences, being able to really just buckle down and figure out what am I going to be doing in the future. Maybe this volunteer opportunity will put into perspective how small we are in the world and how much we can give to each other to help out and make the world a better place. Just having a better mindset before going to college is huge.
So to build on what you're saying, Arianna, I know you said you did not take a gap year. I did take a gap year before Brown. It was very helpful. I interned for a newspaper in Israel, Palestine, and which is quite in the news these days, unfortunately. But anyhow, what I'm saying to you, folks, is that in my anecdotal experience, a gap year prepared me for college. That I knew, okay, I want to do journalism. I want to do Middle East. Okay, I have a year of living on my own without my parents. I have to wake up. I have to be at this job on this time. Yes, I'm making minimum wage, but this is the first time I'm on my own. So I can only say, and then based on, I think, my body language and what my energy, I highly, highly, highly recommend a gap year if possible.
That sounds really awesome that you had that experience.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Wow.
I don't know anyone that's taken a gap year and not thoroughly enjoyed it and would recommend it to others.
Same. Everything that I've heard from others who have taken it is just so many positive experiences.
Yeah. And I think there's definitely the worry, I'm sure we'll get into this in a little bit, that you might fall behind your peers, especially the ones that you're graduating with. But it ends up not mattering that much once you get started. All right, let's dive a little bit more into what you can accomplish with a gap year.
What can you accomplish with a gap year? Self-discovery. You can realize, hey, I want to go into this profession, or hey, I do not want to go into this profession. I've been working in a lab and I don't want to do that. Or hey, I've been interning in a hospital and I don't want to be forward facing with patients. It will allow you to determine what you'd like to do professionally. Also, independence, individuation, agency. Folks, I don't know about you, but so much of this college admissions process is having your parents hover over you, stress and worry, and you're going back and forth with your parents. And I mean, Freud would have a field day on the family systems, but this gives this doing a gap year gives you a chance to take a step back, realize who you are in the world, and have to rely on yourself. And again, so much of this college admissions process, your parents are rooting for you, and it can also be stressful, all the pressure from the parents. This is a year for you to focus on yourself, on your maturity. Nobody's waking you up in the morning. Nobody's cooking for you. Nobody's hovering over your shoulder as you click send on the application. You are in charge. You have to step up to the plate. And lastly, work experience. I worked at a newspaper and I loved it. I had a kid this year who went back to Istanbul, where her family's from, and she launched a startup for coding. I mean, you have so many opportunities, especially work experience out of the country. Let's say, and again, many of my clients at Quad are Indian American or Chinese American. Let's say you have relatives back in India or back in China. This could be a chance for you to seriously go get a job over there, live over there, reconnect with your heritage, with your familial roots, and at the same time gain some professional skills, and you're on your own. It's fun. It's an adventure. I would say go make mistakes, but that's not necessarily my advice. Back to you, Arianna, if you want to chime in.
I love it. Yes, I mean, huge emphasis on self-discovery. It almost sounds like you're going to say it's the year of you, but it truly is. Yeah. It is. You're not your parents' baby anymore. You are fully taking that leap on your own, and this is really a chance for you to figure out who you are. And what the next 4 years of your life is going to be. I mean, you're going to be studying. That's all, relative to speak. That's what college is going to be. So there's a chance for you to do something outside of that and really, really discover. I love that your student developed their own entrepreneurship in Istanbul, you said? Coding? Wow.
Yes.
Very cool. You can be just like that. You can start your own entrepreneurship within this gap year. You can even involve the community engagement piece together if you want to do a service-centered entrepreneurship. The sky is truly the limit, and that's the reason why I'm going to keep coming back to it. Coming up with that game plan from the start. When you're in this process, let's say now you're starting to get your college admissions back. You're starting to get the acceptances back, or you already know where you're going to go, perhaps. This is the time to figure out, am I going to take a gap year or am I not? What is that going to look like for me? What do I want to solve? What are problems around me? Let's say if you want to do the community engagement piece, problems around me that I would like to be a part of the solution for. What does that look like in my city? If you want to help solve homelessness or help come up with a solution towards homelessness that you can further expound on and work on in college, this is an opportunity to do so. Skill development, traveling to different countries. Perhaps you're taking an undertaking to learn different languages. You're learning to code. You're learning to even cook. This is a great time to figure out, what can I do? How can I better myself? What does the 2.0 version of me look like? Pass it back to you, Max.
I mean, I love the entrepreneurship part. I've had students do that community engagement. I've had students take gap years to work on the Biden campaign, or to work in terms of community organizing, or to really or for social justice missions. I had one kid take a gap year because this was actually at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, and he wanted to do full-time organizing in the New York area. So you have options, especially at your age, folks. If you're active and politicized and you want to fight the good fight, this is the time in your life to do that. Before you have a mortgage and kids and, all the burdens of life. This is time to fight for what you believe in. And I just wanted to add that anecdote in terms of community engagement and social justice work.
Absolutely.
What else can you accomplish with a gap year? Academic pursuits. Arianna mentioned learn a foreign language. That's what I did. That's what you could do, especially if you have familial roots and you want to re-engage with the language of your parents or your grandparents. Travel experiences, learning a new language.
Absolutely. Just to further expound on that too, these are, I don't know how many writers are going to be in the room right now, but let's say you did do travel experiences. Document your time during this gap year. If you're learning a new language, I would just say, keep a journal. This is just a side note. Keep a journal and write down your experiences and kind of look back maybe while you're in college a year later after the gap year. You look back and you reflect on all those wonderful memories, or the times you're figuring out how to cook bad ramen. I don't know. But just looking back and reflecting on those moments, and you take them with you and you further build. And that's who you are. That's who you become. And you continue to be a better and better you.
Amen. Amen.
All right. How do you know if a gap year is right for you?
It's an excellent question. And something we've been saying the whole time, practice that self-reflection. It's nothing better than to self-reflect. You really just dig deep into who you are, exploring those passions beyond just formal education. You've been in classes for many years. And you probably will continue many more classes. But this is your time to just really gauge if your trajectory supports your genuine interest. This process of self-reflection clarifies motivation. It helps to aid in deciding whether a gap year truly aligns with your personal and academic journey. If you just want to take a gap year to sleep, hey, I feel you. I understand. Naps are great, but
nope. Sorry.
No. This is not the time or way to do it. It is genuinely meant for growth. So if the gap year is not supporting that in any way, and you're just trying to use it as an excuse, you might want to second think on that.
And to build on your point of self-reflection, this reminded me of one of my students anecdotally who spent the year at an ashram in India. Okay, doing intensive meditation, intensive yoga, intensive reading of Sanskrit texts of Patanjali. So we want to really take self-reflection to the next level and spend hours sitting in a lotus position, meditating as calmly as possible. You can do that, and you should. It's not a question you're sleeping in late, gap year. Nope. That is, make something of your time. Please make something of your time.
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons. The pros, personal growth. Please, maturity. I cannot overstate it enough. Another year of real-world experience will allow you so that when you step foot on college campus, you are more serious in what you want to study and what you want to get out of college, as opposed to simply engaging in extended adolescence. Again, many students are ready at 18 to step foot on college campuses. Many students are ready. Sometimes you and I may not be ready. I took a gap year because I wasn't ready. I anecdotally had come out of the closet, and I needed time to process that. I needed time to get myself in an emotional place to be ready to buckle down and study. Again, we are all on different timelines in terms of physical and emotional maturity and development. Please, whatever timeline you're on, accept it. It does not have to be identical to your classmates, to your siblings. If you need more time to get your house in order, that's okay. That's okay. I, as a counselor advising you, would rather you take that year, gain maturity, step foot on the college campus, and get a 4.0 as opposed to going straight from high school to college when you're not emotionally mature or ready enough, and your grades could dip or your experience might not be what it could be. So that's in terms of personal growth. Please, 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 folks, prioritize your mental health, prioritize where you are emotionally. The other pros, skill development. Again, student of mine who's now a coder in Istanbul and launched her own startup. That's skill development and career exploration at the same time. And the last point is rest. Yes, some travel, some leisure can be restful, can be R&R. You deserve some of that. Some. Again, you're not waking up at 10 or 11 every morning, but yes, you worked hard in this college admissions process. You do deserve some downtime. Oh, and cons. Oh, wow, we have all these other cons. Hello, folks. Okay, you have cons. Academic delay. It's another year of your life. You also have financial considerations. If you have an institutional scholarship that may not roll over, if you have a private scholarship that may not roll over. You also have challenges of returning to school. Maybe you loved your time outside of academia, and now you are going to do something that's a bit more off the beaten trail. Be careful of that. Another con is delay in starting your career, especially if you're taking out loans or if you are financially supporting family members. And you're now going to take another year out of that as opposed to immediately graduating and then being able to give back to relatives, to your parents, and also losing out on scholarships. Those are all delays. If I can also add a con, another con could be if you are a recruited athlete. Again, you have 5 years of eligibility. The clock is ticking. You might also need to coordinate with your coach and early in the recruiting process to see if he, she, they are okay with you taking a gap year. So if you are a recruited athlete, this could be a con. Normally, a gap year is fine, but you really do need to communicate with your coaches early in the recruiting process.
Absolutely. And just to add to, as well, to pro and con, another pro you mentioned was mental health, focus on mental health. I think that is huge. It is easy just to say, I'm going to go straight into college, no gap year. But it is a much tougher conversation to worry about not graduating because you did not take that time to focus on your mental health. And now you're dealing with the repercussions of that within school, within classes, and you're by yourself. So just take that time if that's something that you need and focus on you. Focus on making sure your mental health is in the right place. And then also people come from gap years. They finish in shorter amount of times actually than people who don't on average. So it's really important to just take that time to focus on the mental health portion of it. And then another con that I think we had mentioned before, that fear of missing out, FOMO. Don't worry about it. If you're taking the gap year, it's because you're focusing on you. You remember you 2.0? So don't worry. They're having FOMO because they're thinking, what are all the wonderful things that you're doing? So if that's a reason or a con that's playing in your head, let that one go.
Arianna, I love that. I'm going to call you Arianna 2.0. Yes, a gap year could give you that 2.0, especially in terms of mental health.
All right. Academic and career goals.
Absolutely. So again, just reflect on how this gap year is going to align with your long-term academic objectives. And of course, your personal growth. How is this going to help build you into who you want to be? Look and evaluate the potential impact on your academic progress. That was a great thing that you mentioned too, as far as if you're athletic or if you're an athlete, if that's going to delay you at all, that's conversations you want to have early. And then of course, and how the experiences gained can contribute to your career goals. So if you are a person who knows what you want to do post-college, awesome. kudos to you. I was not one of those people. But you already have a plan of action, and you kind of know, okay, the career that I'm pursuing after college, I need this, this, and this done. Maybe these are things that you work on during your gap year to develop those particular skill sets. Great things that you will always need is communication skills, negotiation skills, if that's something. Maybe these are things that you take at a local community college during your gap year, or things that you practice by shadowing somebody who's a leader in the career space that you're looking to be involved in. There are so many opportunities and things to work on during your gap year that will tell future employers, hey, this is what I was doing, and this is why I'm more marketable for your company.
Yes, okay. Think about what your gap year may look like. Folks, my advice, you need to plan. You need to research. You need to sit down with mom or dad, or guardian 1 or guardian 2, or both dads or both moms, or whoever you live with, and have a serious conversation about if it's right for you. What are your goals? What are some possible programs? What are some possible interests? Research and plan activities. I mean, if your parents are a bit more hippy-dippy like me, I would recommend a woofing program where you go work on a farm for several months so you get back to the land. But again, different parents and different families have different considerations, especially different practical considerations. I don't know your financial situation. I was blessed with a level of financial comfort where I could go think about woofing and thinking about doing jobs that don't necessarily remunerate me. It is possible you might be in a situation where your parents are relying on you to graduate with a degree sooner so that you can again support relatives, send money back to your ancestral homeland. Everyone is in a different position. My advice, communicate with your parents, sit down with them, talk to them, lay out your options.
I agree. And I really like that. That is cool. He said a farming and get back. Do they have that for post grads?
Yeah, they have it for post grads, pre grads. Woofing is a great opportunity. WWOOF. And you can go work in a vineyard in France and learn a language and fall in love and then never come back to college. Okay, that was a joke, everyone. That was a joke. That was a joke. Hi.
I think you can woof at all ages from what I know. So Arianna, you could be working on a farm tomorrow.
I am looking into that. That is for sure. That is cool.
Definitely. It's a cool program.
Nice.
All right. Making an informed decision.
Awesome. So again, sitting down with your parents is an excellent start. So sit down with yourself, then sit down with your parents, then sit down with prospective, your prospective college as well. So by assessing potential benefits and challenges, strategically planning the gap year is crucial. Balancing experiences with your long-term goals, a decision that can be made that contributes positively to personal and professional development. And you know what? That program is awesome. They have gap year programs that are targeted for a multitude of different things. So that might be something that you look at if you want a more structured type of plan. And then also figuring out your financial situation as well. There are gap year programs that do offer financial aid or financial support. So that could be something that can help bypass that barrier as well.
All right, so that's the end of the content that we have for you all. And I see we have a couple questions in here. And if you also have questions, pop those in the Q&A box, in the chat box, and we'll get to those as well. And then a reminder, we are recording this and we will send out a recording to everyone within the next few days. So you'll have access to all of this amazing info that we went through and what we will go through. All right, first question, how do you think about a gap year as it relates to sports recruiting? What if you're not able to go through the recruiting process during the typical junior year and want to do that during your senior year / the following year? Do either of you have any experience with that?
Yes. So I think I was Ariel. I was mentioning that a bit before. You have, I think, according to you have 5 years of eligibility for college athletics, I believe. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So you have up to a year to start playing at a school. But different schools have different procedures. I would be in touch with the coach early in the recruiting process about this. Um, that's my advice based on the students that I've advised who are recruited athletes.
Yeah, same.
All right. So definitely reach out if you have more questions there. And hopefully we can help you out further. All right. Another question is, if it's clear that gap years make kids more ready for college and may make them more interesting applicants, why do you recommend applying before taking a gap year? Wouldn't it make gap years make them more interesting candidates?
Well, good question. Let's just start with that.
Yes, that is a good question. Would you want to go first, Max?
I think protocol to be on the safe side. Colleges tend to prefer that you apply first and then request deferral, as opposed to doing the opposite. But that is, I've had students do it the other way as well. Basically, apply to a bunch of schools, did not get into any of them that they wanted. So they then took a gap year, did a spicy extracurricular internship, and then reapplied.
Timing might make that a little bit difficult. If you decide to take a gap year before applying, then once your gap year starts, you're probably going to be at the beginning of the admissions process, and that might take a lot of time away from your gap year.
It's a risk. It's not the conventional path.
So it sounds like there's not a standard answer there, but is dependent on the individual.
Yeah, and that's what I would say too. It really depends on what your goal schools are. If you did not get into the schools of choice, or if there is a different reason as to why. But I would err on the side that you are applying or you are doing a gap year after being accepted, unless you want your entire gap year to be focused on school applications, which then kind of hinder the entire point of the gap year, unless it's for other reasons as to why you are taking that time to do applications.
And these answers go really well with a couple questions that just came in as well. When do you apply for college if you're taking a gap year? Do you recommend applying for college first, gaining a spot, and then asking for a gap year versus the opposite?
Yes, categorically, yes. I'd recommend apply to college first and then ask for a deferral. It can get a little trickier in your application. You're going to have to explain why you're taking time off from school. If you take a gap year first and then apply. Also, you're going to only be maybe 2 months into your gap year or 1 month into your gap year when you're going to have to apply. So as you said, Hallie, the timing is a little tricky. It's not like you're going to have a full year under your belt and then the college can review your file. It could be you graduate high school in June, you have a couple months, and then it's August, September, you need to get cracking on applications. So it's not necessarily like you're going to have a full year compelling activity to talk about.
And I think this brought up a great point that I know we covered a little bit at the beginning, but can one of you just quickly go over what the deferral, like what it means to ask for a deferral? And I know we went over it at the beginning, I think. But what does it mean to ask for a deferral, and how does that, I don't think we connected that great with the gap year itself.
Got you. So you mean as far as deferring the admissions after you're accepted?
Yeah. So if you decide you want to do a gap year after you apply your senior year of high school, you get into a school and decide you want to take a gap year, what does asking for a deferral mean in that context?
Different schools have different requirements. Quite often you'll have to write a letter explaining exactly why you want to take a gap year. But you're going to have to, again, do research on your specific school and the protocol they have for requesting a gap year.
And so basically you're accepting your spot and saying, I want this spot, but I'm going to start a year later than.
Oh, you're requesting to do that. They usually
Yeah.
have to give you approval. The majority of Ivy Plus schools, it's pretty much a formality. But other schools can depend.
Yeah.
It can depend.
All right. Another question that we have is, if I couldn't get into my dream school, would you advise that you take a gap year for personal growth and development to further skills and better position themselves for the next application cycle, or go to a less desired college and apply for a transfer after the first year?
That's also a tough question. Transferring is hard. It's difficult. You're coming into school midway. There's already friend groups and dynamics. It's not like the beginning of freshman year where everyone's, ready to meet everyone. It can be harder and more difficult. So I wouldn't necessarily advise you to start at a school knowing that you're definitely going to transfer. I would ask you to give that school a chance to really try to make it. Anecdotally, I've had students try to do that. They've not gotten into their Ivy Plus school that they've always wanted to go to. They took a gap year and applied again. And I'm thinking anecdotally, most of my students who've done that were again deferred and rejected. It's a risk you're taking, especially by the time you apply schedule-wise, you will only have had a few months of the gap year. So you don't even have the full experience to talk about for the school.
I would also say, why is it your dream school? What makes it your dream school? Is there a particular program? Is it in a particular location? What stands out about this particular school that you are willing to do the gap year for it? And then if so, I would, over the two options, I would say to do a transfer after the first year if you have to go to said school, or if you have to apply to said school. And the reason as to why is because you're now building up experience on a college campus. You're taking college courses. You're proving that you can handle rigor of college level. You're also showing that you're getting involved in the community. Make sure you do that if you're going to do this step. And then also get letters of recommendation showing that you actually were invested in said school and major, and you'll be a great addition at new said dream school. I would do that over the gap year, because you also made a good point. You're only going to have a short amount of time really doing the experiences of a gap year before you do the applications again.
And again, to clarify, I'm not saying not to transfer. I'm saying think long and hard before you commit to transferring, and have a good reason. Whether it be this doesn't have an academic program I really want, whether it be that you're unhappy with the Greek life, you're unhappy with the social dynamic, have a compelling reason, because transferring can be hard.
All right. So another question someone has, kind of piggybacking off of this last question. My child was thinking of doing community college for 2 years, then transferring to a dream school. From what you're saying, it sounds like that might not be a good idea. Or is that different than transferring after the first year at a school?
It depends. I think finances are a question. I think it's also a difference between being at community college for 2 years and then transferring to a 4-year residential college, as opposed to going from one residential college to another residential college. So those are different issues. Again, I don't know your financial situation. If that's a factor, absolutely. I know a lot of kids who've done that. 2 years at community college, and then for example, Cornell accepts anecdotally many different community college kids, several hundred each year. So that's always an option.
Absolutely. And I don't know if this might apply to your child, but there's also the 5-year program, like doing high school for 5 years to get the associates and then transferring over. Maybe that's a potential option, because then you're still applying as a first-year student, and it's different than you're still earning the associates of the community college, but you're going straight from high school, so to speak. She said financial reasons. Okay.
Yep. For financial reasons, it's a good idea. So to clarify, for financial reasons, absolutely, it's a good idea.
Great. All right, another question. If from the same person, if my child turns 17 in March of senior year, is that a good reason to take a gap year? Because you might be on the younger side going into college.
Again, age does not strictly correlate with emotional maturity. If your child has buckled down, getting good grades, is serious, is developed, and they're 17, that's fine. But if your child emotionally, mental health-wise, developmentally, listen, I was a late bloomer, different people bloom at different points, then you may want to think about a gap year.
Yeah, I went to college at 16, and again, everyone's different. There's different things. I think it is so vital to take stock of mental health and understand, are they, you know your child. So are they in a spot, or are they in a space where they feel comfortable? Maybe a gap year would be beneficial to kind of teach them things, to be more independent, or to evaluate or take that introspection more seriously, or whatever that can make them more prepared, even if it's a few months and not a full year or a quarter. Do that. That's always helpful.
Great.
Yes, to build on your point, Arianna, you don't have to take a full gap year. You could ask to take one semester. You have options, folks. You have options.
All right. Well, if you have any more questions, pop those in. And if not, we'll wrap up. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. It was really great to have so many engaged participants. You all asked some fantastic questions. And Max, Arianna, it was great to see you both. And thank you so much for walking us through this. If anyone has any further questions, feel free to email us, schedule a free consultation, and we can talk to you about how we can potentially help you talk about gap years, college applications, anything within that. And keep an eye on your email. We'll be sending out the recording to this in a few days. And we also have webinars up on our website that are coming up soon. You can view past webinars as well. And those are always free. I hope everyone has a great rest of their night. And Arianna, Max, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Have
everyone.
a good night.